Type the word skinwalker into a search bar. You will see antlers, a human body bent backward, white eyes, limbs stretched too long. Something half deer, half corpse, standing beside an empty road. Almost none of that comes from the people whose language gave us the word. That is the first distortion. The second is more important. A skinwalker was never simply an animal waiting in the desert. In Diné tradition, the danger begins with a human being, someone who knows the shape of proper life and deliberately turns against it. But the internet prefers a creature. A creature can be drawn, ranked, hunted, caught on a doorbell camera. A human being who corrupts knowledge and uses fear against his own community is harder to package. So the person disappeared. The antlers arrived. Then came the red eyes, the distorted screams, the warnings never to stop your car. Eventually, an entire living tradition was flattened into a monster anyone could borrow. This is how that happened, and why the thing we created may reveal more about us than the figure we claimed to inherit. The people commonly called Navajo call themselves Diné, the people. Within Diné understandings of the world, the figure now marketed as the Skinwalker belongs to a larger and far more serious system of ideas about harmful human action, misused knowledge, and the violation of communal order. One term often rendered in English is Yee Naaldlooshii, commonly translated as, "with it, he goes on all fours." Even that translation can mislead. It makes the phrase sound like the name of a species. It is not. The figure is generally described as a person associated with harmful witchcraft. Transformation into, imitation of, or movement through an animal form is part of the danger. But the animal is not the beginning of the story. The decision is. Someone crosses a line knowingly. Knowledge that should protect life is turned toward injury. Familiar relationships become possible routes of attack. The threat is frightening precisely because it does not come from outside the human world. It comes from someone inside it. This is also why many Diné people do not discuss the subject freely with strangers. Silence here does not mean that the tradition is empty and waiting for outsiders to complete it. Silence can be a boundary, a way of refusing to turn a living belief into entertainment. Scholar Adrian Keane has been blunt about this. These traditions are alive, culturally protected, and connected to understandings that outsiders usually do not possess. The refusal to explain everything is part of the meaning. The internet treated it as missing content. In 1976, folklorist Margaret Brady collected more than 100 skinwalker narratives from 43 Diné children in the 5th and 6th grades. That detail matters. The stories were not dead fragments recovered from some prehistoric religion. Children were telling them, reshaping them, and using them inside a changing community. The narratives could contain pursuit, recognition, danger, and escape. But they also carried information about relationships. Who can be trusted? What happens when power becomes secretive? How a familiar place changes after dark? How a child learns that danger may wear a recognizable shape. The skinwalker did not function like a zoological animal. No field guide could settle the matter by listing its height, tracks, and feeding habits. Its power came from instability. A person might not be what they appeared to be. An animal might move in a way that violated expectation. A sound outside the home might force everyone inside to reconsider who, or what, knew where they lived. These stories allowed children to rehearse fear without reducing it to a lecture. A warning entered the room on 4 legs. The child remembered. But even here, we should resist the easy conclusion that the skinwalker was merely invented to frighten children into obedience. That would flatten the tradition again. The stories carried deeper tensions: envy, concealed aggression, corrupted authority, illness, family conflict, and the possibility that knowledge itself could become dangerous in the wrong hands. The monster was not chaos. It was intelligence with its loyalties removed. Then the story moved north. In June 1996, the Deseret News published claims from a family living on a ranch in northeastern Utah. They described strange lights, unidentified flying objects, unusual animals, and disturbing events involving their cattle. The property was soon purchased by businessman Robert Bigelow, whose organization attempted to investigate reports of paranormal activity. Over time, the location became famous as Skinwalker Ranch. Notice what happened. The ranch was in Utah, beside the Uinta and Ouray Reservation. The reported phenomena included UFOs, glowing objects, enormous wolves, poltergeist activity, and alleged cattle mutilations. This was not one coherent Diné narrative. It was a collection of modern paranormal claims. The word Skinwalker gave those claims something they did not yet possess, an ancient shadow. One indigenous term could make a modern mystery feel older, deeper, and more dangerous. The name suggested that the land had already been marked before investigators, television crews, and private security arrived. But a frightening name is not evidence. The early reports were primarily testimony. Investigators spoke about the difficulty of obtaining materials suitable for scientific publication. Decades of attention have produced stories, programs, instruments, commercial tours, and arguments. They have not produced a body of evidence capable of proving the extraordinary claims attached to the property. That uncertainty did not weaken the brand, it strengthened it. A solved ranch would eventually become ordinary. An unsolved ranch can produce another season. The traditional figure and the Utah property now occupy the same search results, although they belong to different systems of meaning. One concerns a living Diné framework of harmful human action. The other is a modern paranormal franchise. The name makes them look inseparable. They are not. There is another problem: the antlers. Search the traditional descriptions available in serious scholarship, and the famous antlered skeleton is difficult to find. Yet online, it has become almost unavoidable. That image appears to owe more to modern horror design, the visual legacy of the Wendigo, European horned figures, video games, and algorithmic repetition, than to a stable Diné description. One artist copies another. An AI image model absorbs both. A video thumbnail exaggerates the silhouette because thin antlers read clearly against a black sky. Then repetition begins to imitate evidence. You have seen the image 50 times. Your mind quietly moves it from creative interpretation to what the creature looks like. No conspiracy is required, only a feedback loop. The image that earns the click becomes the image generated again. The generated image becomes the reference for the next creator. Eventually, the internet manufactures a body for something it never understood. Tall, emaciated, antlered, conveniently visible. The traditional threat was frightening partly because recognition was unstable. The modern threat must be recognized instantly on a phone screen. That difference tells us exactly what happened. A cultural boundary became a content category. There is a reason the corrupted version travels so well. It removes responsibility. If the Skinwalker is simply a supernatural predator, then the moral arrangement is easy. We are human. It is the monster. We survive by locking the door, driving faster, or refusing to answer the voice outside. But the older structure is less comforting. The threat begins when a person takes knowledge, trust, or authority and turns it against the people who gave those things meaning. You do not need shapeshifting to recognize that. A respected leader can use private knowledge to control a community. A relative can learn exactly where another person is vulnerable. An institution can preserve the appearance of protection while quietly feeding on fear. The face remains familiar. The loyalty underneath it has changed. That is more disturbing than a deer skull in the road, because it cannot be left in the desert. The internet gave the skinwalker antlers because antlers keep the danger at a safe distance. They make it exotic, visible, non-human. They allow us to stare at the monster without examining the act that created it. We should not pretend that a short documentary can unlock a tradition whose own members may choose not to explain it to us. Some doors are not puzzles, they are boundaries. But we can stop repeating the easiest lie. The skinwalker is not America's universal shape-shifting cryptid. It is not proof that every shadow beside a highway is hunting the driver. And it does not belong to every storyteller simply because the name produces clicks. What the internet got wrong was not only the appearance, it changed the location of the danger. The old fear pointed toward a human being who abandoned obligation. The new fear points toward an animal in the dark. One of them is easier to watch. The other may already know your name.